Welcome back, everyone. This is Frank Whiskey Charlie Zero Oscar. I'm over here in Bolsa Chica State Beach. This is a POTA site, Kilo 3411 in Southern California, in Orange County. Now, I have right now I'm doing mobile. I have a HF20CL diamond antenna connected to an FT-857D, which is about 12 years and 2 months old, something like that. It's still very reliable. Now, this radio will be connected to a bioenno battery, which is the 6 amp hour battery. Now, if I just connect this battery to the radio, I get about close to 2 hours worth of power. Right now it's drawing 700 milliamps or 0.6 amps. Oh no, 0.7 amps or 700 milliamps. And if I just left the radio like this without transmitting, it would take approximately 8 hours to drain the battery, which is good if you're just listening. Now the fan is not on, and there might be other settings that might make it, draw more power. But right now, this is like its steady state, approximately 700 milliamps or 0.6 amps. The moment I start transmitting, it'll jump to 2, and then depending on how loud my words are, it'll go up to 5, 7, and depending on how long I speak, it will range, from from 1 to all the way up to 7 or so. And then it'll just drop right when I'm not talking, I'm just listening. So considering that you might be talking half of the time, who knows, your battery will drain even further, right? So I right now have a Buddy Pole Power Mini 2, and that is connected to the radio. That's also connected to the battery, and then that is also connected to a solar panel that I have. I recently got the solar panel, the sun power thin solar panel, 50 watts. It was on sale for about, I think, $60 or something, and that will draw, if you put it correctly on the sun, that'll give me about 2.5 amps, maybe. It depends on the position of the panel, and and of course the sun moves around, so you have to adjust the panel. So right now it's on the roof and it's tilted a bit, and the sun is above. It's I guess it's kind of like a little bit hazy, but everything seems to be in its proper position. The radio's turned on. The battery is at 13.97 volts. It's drawing that much, or around 14, it seems like. And then it's drawing 0.7. And the Power Mini 2, if the Buddy Pole Power Mini 2, let me tell you a little bit about that. I know that some of you know, but some don't. This is a charge controller, which means it manages my battery. It doesn't overcharge it. But also this thing too controls also the battery, in the sense that I can hook up like devices like radio or something, and also I can even power my phone as a USB 2, I believe, connection. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to see how long it's going to take for the battery to run out of juice. I'm expecting that it should give me a little more than 2 hours with the solar panel. I'm hoping 3.5 to 4. Who knows? Because the panel's not giving me 7 amps. It's only, like I said, it's only giving me 2. And then depending on if it's cloudy day, but which is not today, or the position of the sun and I forget to move the panel, it might give me less. But right now, the Buddy Pole Power Mini says that it's only giving the battery 0.24 amps. So I'm not sure how this charge controller really operates under load. I haven't really looked at it closely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can activate this park. That's the first thing I'm going to do. And then afterwards, as like maybe an hour later, because right now it's like 2 o'clock on a Sunday, a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Let's say within 30 minutes, let's see how much power I've drained so far from the battery, and then I can figure out how much power has been put back into the battery, right? And see how that goes in terms of like managing the power. And why do something like this? Because the whole idea of one of the things about part of this hobby is to always make sure your equipment is in top form, and you want to be sometimes you want to be self-sufficient in having your own power. In this case, I could run my radio most likely by turning on my car and charging the battery. I could probably do that and use my gasoline, but I don't. I want to use this very thin sun power solar panel, which is definitely way better than my Renogy fat scratch my car aluminum, I don't know, more than 10-pound solar panel that also gives me 50 watts. So for now, the sun power one seems to be okay. It'll probably get ruined in about a couple of years, because that's what usually happens. The controller on the top just gets all burned out. Okay, so I'll come back in about a half an hour or so if I can, and then I'll give you a report. So stay tuned. Be right back. Okay, everyone. So it's half an hour now. 18 contacts. There's a lot of noise, and I think there's some other contacts going on. So let's see. It's now still draining about 700 milliamps. It draws another 10 when the fan's turned on, apparently. Now the solar panel is bringing in about 2.06 amps, which is great. And I saw the usage of the amps, how much amps it draws, the radio, anywhere from 700 or 0.7 amps all the way up to 7 or 11 amps, but very, very, very quickly. It doesn't sustain it that much. In the power rack meter that I have it directly connected to the radio, it says that I've already drawn 1 amp. And let's see, what else did it say? Yeah, 1 amp. And the highest point is 7.81 amps that it's drawn. That's the peak. So that's the power rack. That's the wattage meter. As for the Buddy Pole Power Mini, let's see. It says that I've drawn 1.5 amps. That's different. It says that the Buddy Pole Power Mini says that I've only used 0.2 amps from the battery. So that's interesting too. Battery use 0.2 amp hours. So maybe it's giving me the net, right? The difference. I don't know. Let's see. The battery's at 13.47, which is still okay. So half an hour, and I said I had 18 contacts. Very noisy today. So we're gonna continue on. We'll continue on for another half hour. Let's see how many more contacts. But the battery seems to be solid. The 2 amps that's being put back into the battery seems to be working great. And we'll see what happens in about half an hour. All right, bye-bye. Be back. Welcome back, everyone. So 1 hour later, I got 33 contacts, which is about 15 more contacts or so from before, sort of, approximately. The watt meter that's connected to the radio, to the Buddy Pole Power Mini, that says that I've spent about 1.6 amp hours, but the Buddy Pole Power Mini says that I've drawn 2.4 amp hours. So I'm not sure why there's a discrepancy. Maybe I put the watt meter a little bit too much later on, maybe. I think we're going to go with the Buddy Pole Power Mini in terms of how much is coming in and out. So 2.4 is coming out from the battery, and 2.1 amp hours has been placed inside the battery. Right now I'm at 1.87 amps from the sun. So the angle of the sun is now different from what it was an hour ago. Probably in another hour I'm going to move that solar panel and be more vertical on the side of the car. I have a towel right now that's blocking the sun because I'm pointing north almost, right? Kind of. Yeah, about north. That's about north. Magnetic north, probably. Then we got west, east, and then south back there. Okay, so I'm gonna try another hour or a half an hour and see how many more contacts I have, how much power I've been taking in. So technically, with the sun out, I've been able to only lose, supposedly, half an amp from the battery. A half an amp from the battery. It seems like I get, yes, I say less than 2, but it looks like I might get a little more than 2, maybe 2.5, depending again on how much I use the radio. But I'm still gonna say 2 to be safe. But right now, 2 hours. But right now it seems like with the panel on there, I've only lost a half of amp, or in half an amp hour, right? A half of amp hour. All right, so I'm gonna come back in another 30 minutes and we'll talk later. All right, see you soon. Be back. Okay, so it's now an hour and a half, and I have 42 contacts. Not a lot, right? Not even 10, only barely 9. I did go to the restroom for almost 10 minutes, and I moved the car over a little bit so that the car could be more on the side, right? Facing the sun a little bit better. And I also, I think I said this, I don't know. I moved the panel over so it could be vertically. So right now I'm getting 2.4 amps for that nice sun power thin solar panel. Now here's the thing. I have a power film, the 20 watt one. Very beautiful panel, very foldable, portable. The only thing I don't like about it, if I hang it vertically in the car, it'll start flapping. Yes, you should tie also the other grommets maybe on the bottom, but it's very challenging to do. And 20 watts would not cover this, I don't think. It would be nice if I had the 60 watt version, but that's a little bit expensive. And if anybody even takes it, it would be a pretty penny to lose. This one in particular, this sun power, relatively inexpensive, and it's giving me again 2.41 amp hours, or just amps. Okay, so on the Buddy Pole Power Mini 2, it tells me how much power I've drawn from the battery. It says 3.2 amps. Amp hours. 3.3 amp hours in 1.5 hours. So that tells me that most likely I wouldn't get 3 hours worth of power at 3.3 watt hours for an hour and a half. I would get less than 3 hours. So hopefully I can continue this for 3 hours and then figure out how much battery power I still have. Yes, for about 12 minutes I give an advantage to the sun, but that's pretty normal, right? You go to the restroom, you stop, you talk to your friends or something. So, you know, it might average out sort of. The solar panel has given me 3.2 amp hours. So technically, supposedly, I've only lost 1/10 of an amp, right? 100 milliamps so far from using the radio for an hour and a half. Wow, that is pretty amazing if you think about it. I'll discuss a little bit why, why would you want to do something like this? Why don't just, get a bigger battery or something? Yes, that's right. You could get a bigger battery. But we'll talk about some of the implications on doing something like this that allows you to be a little more compact. Okay, so I'll come back in another half hour. Hopefully that'll be 2 hours. And so far I got 42 contacts, which is not really a lot. But there's a lot of people out there and it's really noisy. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, it's now 2 hours. I started at 2, now it's 4. And let's find out. I got 78 contacts. That's pretty good. Actually, I think I had 42 or something. So it gives me another 30, 36 or so. Very close to it. So let's look at what's going on with the SunPower solar panel and this battery. So we got the battery usage from the radio is 4.5 amp hours. So definitely, if that was the case, I would have a little more juice on the battery because it's only a 6 amp hour battery. And the sun has given me 4.2 amp hours so far. Not bad. And right now it's giving me 2.4 amps. 2.43 amps. So the solar panel is doing great. If I move the car a little more, I might be able to get 2.7, maybe 2.9. I don't think 2.9, but 2.7 for sure. So that's awesome. So I am behind 300 milliamps. So hopefully the battery is still charged up. It's 2 hours. So 2 hours, I take away from that battery 4.5 amps in 2 hours. Right. So a 6 amp hour battery will probably give me 2.5 hours, which I think is about right. So I'm going to continue for another half hour. Let's see what happens. So in the next half hour, at 2.5 hours, I think I would have been finished with my battery by that time. And then we'll see how much power I've lost so far. I think, doing a little calculations, I'm thinking on average, I'm about 2.4, maybe a little more, 2.4, 2.5 amps, amp hour on average. Gives me an idea to do some calculations. So this time I did not take a break, and I'm trying to figure out how much I pressed the push the talk button. I think I do that more if I'm talking more, of course, than not, or maybe halfway. I'm not sure. If you know, give me put a comment on there. What percent of the time you think you're pressing the button when you're doing a POTA activation when it's really active? All right, so I'm gonna come back in about a half an hour from now. All right, see you later. Be back. Okay, so it's now 2 hours and a half. The Buddy Pole Power Mini tells me that I'm at 5.8 amp hours. So at this time, without the solar panel, my 50-watt solar panel, it would be done. That would not be in any way more using this battery. It would probably be dying, but 2.5 hours for a 6 amp hour battery with a 90 watts. I haven't even told you, I don't think, the wattage of the radio. 90 watts on a FT-857D is not bad. Now, the solar panel is at 2.37 amps, not bad. And it's the solar panel is given back to the battery 5.53 amp hours. So I've only lost 500 milliamps, or a half an amp. A half an amp. This thing holds 6 amps. So not bad. Not bad for the solar panel. That's pretty light, and it's facing the sun. Now, you know, the more power that the solar panel can give me to my battery, the more likely I won't be worried about, you know, spending all that power. So I think, I have 112 contacts. So I'm gonna try to go another half hour, to go 3 hours, and let's see how much power I spend on the FT-857D. All right, and then see how many contacts and see how the sun is doing, and just report back. All right, I'll see you soon. I'll be right back. Okay, so it's been 3 hours now, and I got 155 contacts. Not bad. So the FT-857D, it has 90 watts. Been using it for 3 hours. About 12 minutes I didn't use it because I went to the restroom or something, moved the car. But, you know, we can say easily 3 hours. It drained, it needed approximately 7.9 amp hours of power. So a 6 amp hour battery is not going to give you 3 hours on an FT-857D at 90 watts, maybe lower. Probably if you're at 5 watts, it'll probably give you more than 3 hours. What's the big deal? Why not get a bigger battery? Well, it weighs more, and if you want to travel, let's say cross country, or maybe you want to travel overseas, bigger batteries, you know, might not be, easily transported on a plane. So smaller battery is better. Now with my SunPower solar panel, that gave me 6.8 amp hours. So approximately 1 amp, it could not seem to supply enough power. Because at the beginning I was getting 2.07 amps, and then for a long time I was like that, and then I moved the car, it gave me 2.43 amps or something. I moved the car to a place where it was almost giving me 2.8, but 2.4, and then it started going down, because the sun is going down. But I think, looking at my calculations, it seems like on average, if you are speaking, if you're not powering the radio, if you're not powering the radio all the time, like constantly speaking, it seems like on average it takes up 2.4 amps. So 2.4 amp hours, it probably drains that much, which makes sense, because then it gives you approximately 2.5 hours if you don't charge it. But I think it's pretty good. If you have a solar panel that's 50 watts, you have a battery that's 6 amp hours, and that's all you have, and you want to do maybe the whole day, it probably would reach. But unfortunately, sun is not always, bright, right? You're losing, if the light is very nice, if the sun is out and it's shining on your solar panel, nice and bright, you're losing about one amp per hour. But in the mornings with the overcast, and in the evening, you're not going to be charging 2.4 amps of power from a 50-watt panel. So you got to really consider that the 50-watt solar panel really is just there to keep your battery full so that you can, have it so that you can speak longer than 2.5 hours for 90 watts on this radio. Now, if you have something like the IC705 at 5 watts, 10 watts, you're covered. You're easily covered. The solar panel will fill up your battery. You shouldn't have a problem. One thing that I really, really, really would like, and I think it's not justifiable, is a power film, maybe a 60-watt one. But even with the 20 watt power film, with this wind, I mean, it's not that windy, it'll start flapping and it'll mess up the charging of it. Yes, tying it down would be better, but it's really hard to tie 4 corners in a car like that vertically. Not impossible, but I bet you the 60-watt one, I would probably tie it down very good. And it's foldable. Wouldn't that be nice? It's foldable and you can take it with you on a trip or something. So there's a lot of things that you have to trade off. The whole point of this video was, can a 6 amp hour battery run an FT-857D? Yes. Can it run it more than 2 hours? Most likely at 90 watts. Can a nice little solar panel like the sun power that's really thin, or charge the battery while you're doing a POTA activation? Yes. Is it a lot to set up? If you're just beginning, probably has too many things, and it's not very inexpensive either. A charge controller like the Buddy Pole Power Mini 2, I think is now still at a 150. The solar panel, the sun power, the thin one, that one is like $70 or something. So there is some expense that you would need, and of course the battery, it's not inexpensive either, but they're probably one of the best batteries that you can get for ham radio, the Bioenno ones. So considering all that, is it worth it? Probably. I think it is, because remember, one part of ham radio is to be self-sufficient, that you're not plugging into the wall. You are you're self-supporting yourself or self-powering yourself with the equipment, and the cool thing is that this having a radio in the car is you're really portable. You don't need to go on a tree or set up the antenna. Everything is ready in the car, which is pretty fabulous. And a radio like the FT-857D has a lot of flexibility. So I think that if you're really interested in powering your battery, get a nice charge controller. See if that charge controller can also power your radio, and it's just going to be a great way to charge your battery without you going to home and charging it. And you could be pretty sure that as long as the sun is out with a 50 watt, you can probably fill up the battery very nicely. Try it out, see if you have one. If you do, give us your results. See if you think 2.4 amp hours or 2.4 amps on average is the amount of power that the radio is draining when you do something like close to 100 watts. Hope you have a great day. Please subscribe. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I hope to see you later. Bye-bye.